of needing to control get thinner and thinner and thinner all the time. So, 6:01. So, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is actually my favorite service of the year. This one and then the one coming up next Sunday are my two things that I have that bring me the greatest joy. Partly because I love the symbolism. I love the symbolism of the whole new year of saying, what in this last year has worked for me? And what in this last year has not worked for me? And with conscious choice, I can choose now what to bring forth and what to leave behind. And then on next Sunday, we'll be doing, well, I probably should use the microphone that you turned on for me. That would be nice. Well, and throw things around. We'll just leave that. So next Sunday, on Sunday the 4th, we're going to do a white stone ceremony. And I kind of have a rotation, a white stone ceremony, word stone ceremony, and then something else. And this year is white stones. So that, for me, is a beautiful ceremony where we really get to focus heavily on who do we want to be in the next year. Not what do we want to have. What you want to have will come out of who you want to be, in my opinion. So please join us for that as well. But these are my two favorite things to do. So for those of you who have come in, have you each gotten 2 pieces of flash paper? Very good. So we'll have a little safety lecture before it's all said and done, so we don't burn the house down. Although it's pretty hard to do with flash paper. But for me, the symbolism of using flash paper is delightful because it's a paper that will burn fast. It burns clean. It leaves no ash. It leaves no residue. So the symbolism for me, to have no ash, no residue, nothing left over, and to have it just go, is really an important piece of the symbolism, because we can hang on to things and try to let go. But when I think about really truly letting go, it's about saying, what can I really truly let go of so that I don't have to carry any of it forward with me? And so for me, the more symbolism I can come up with to help me do that, the better. So if you will, let's just start with a prayer. If you're comfortable, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and for the next couple breaths, on the out breath, give an audible sigh, just a and know that with that audible sigh, there is a release. There is a letting go of everything that was going on in life before you walked into this room, the busyness that it took to get you here, and the busyness that will await you when you're done. That with that, there's a letting go that allows the present moment to be fully experienced. For here in this moment is the holy moment where we see that we are not broken, that we are indeed holy. So as we move forward here tonight, we do so with a sense of excitement, with a sense of enthusiasm, with a sense of expectancy of good, good, and more good, that we will have the opportunity to look at ourselves and to look with a kind and tender heart, to look with a sense of quiet and peace, knowing that everything that needs to be released, whether it's conscious or unconscious, will be let go tonight. And that the beauty of this process for me is knowing that a part of my choosing is to choose to let go of that which no longer serves me, even when I'm not necessarily aware of what it is. So here in this evening, we'll do that. We will look at what's worked, what hasn't worked, and we will make a conscious, awake, and aware choice to let go. And then there'll be a period where we look at who we want to be moving forward. And if you think about treatment, if you think about our form of affirmative prayer, the last step of treatment is release. And so the second piece of flash paper you have will be to embody everything that you want, but then let that paper flash as well, so that we can fully release and open to the universal wisdom to allow that which is ours, that which is unfolding for us, to do so with a sense of grace and ease. And if we release it just like that flash paper, that it unfolds in ways that we can't even imagine. So I give thanks for everyone who has taken time out of their busy life to come here tonight, to stop, to honor, and to move forward. So I give thanks knowing that as we do so, like I said, with a sense of enthusiasm, with a sense of excitement, with a sense of expectancy that this good that awaits us is simply ours for the taking. So I give thanks, and I do release this out into the synergy and the synchronicity of both love and law that must say yes. And so it is. All right. So I used to give out a piece of paper with all kinds of questions on it. I'll have that for you at the end if you want one. But I found over the years this process has evolved for me. One of the first years I did it, we used like lined paper. And we had a fire pit. And I had one woman who folded her paper up so tightly in such tiny that it was like less than an inch by an inch. It was probably this thick, and it would not burn. There was no oxygen in that paper to allow it to burn. And I said, sweetie, you really don't want to let this stuff go, do you? You just have folded this up so tight. And so it was humorous because it probably we had to like poke at it eventually to get it to burn, because she went, I guess I did get a little over enthusiastic. I said, yeah, I think you did. So it's a process, and to look and to say, what is what messages are coming to me from the universe that tell me that I'm enough. So one of my favorite people whose work I study is a woman named Nadia Bolz-Weber, and she's a fabulous Lutheran minister who is about the most atypical Lutheran I've ever seen. She is tattooed from head to toe. She is radical. She's just a riot. And she is very outspoken. And today I got her blog, and she said this is her yearly reminder that this is what she put in her first blog 6 years ago today. And the yearly reminder is, no resolution that if kept will make you more worthy of love. You, as your actual self and not as some made-up ideal, are already worthy. And so a part of the release process for me is to release anything that holds us back from believing that we're worthy of love and belonging exactly the way we are. That there is as much God in me when my hair is on fire and my fangs are dripping, or when I'm curled up like a roly-poly bug going, make the world go away, I don't want to have to deal. Or whether I'm like I feel today, where there's this overwhelming sense of gratitude and joy for a process that I love so dearly. And everything that I'll walk you through tonight, I've already done. Everything that I'll walk you through on Sunday, I've already done as a part of my preparation work. And knowing that the hardest part of release, in my opinion, isn't necessarily the stuff that doesn't work. I was challenged, the first time I was challenged with the question, would you be willing to let go of the good in your life to make room for something even better? I said to my mentor, as I usually did, you should not smoke crack before you work with people. Because that's just a stupid question. And he just laughs and says, well, my work here is done. I've obviously pushed all the right buttons. But that's a part of the letting go process too, is to, when we go through this process and look at what works, it really is also to say, am I willing to open up to even more of what works? Am I willing to let go of everything, knowing that the universe conspires to bring me my good, that there is always more? There is always something better. If I believe that this universe is infinite, it's beyond my imagining. So there's a 17th century French mathematician, physicist, inventor, writer, philosopher, Blaise Pascal. He says, somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. And that's the great joy of this time of transition, that we're in that space of waiting for things to be known. And Ed Catmull from Pixar Films says, there's a sweet spot between the known and the unknown where originality happens. The key is to be able to linger there without panicking. And so this process also asks us to be willing to stand in the space of the unknown. Our brain is hardwired to demand certainty. But the great wonders of life come in that space between the known and the unknown. And Brian Andrus, who is an artist, says, what is the place in you this day where you open up and let eternity in? So that's really what I'm going to ask you to consider doing, to open up and let eternity in. Because the only things that stands between us and the extraordinary infinite is our belief in its possibility. And I had a board meeting with my board up in Lake Havasu last week, and we were talking about an issue that we're dealing with. And excuse my language, but I said, there are times like this when I have to ask myself, do I believe this shit or not? Do I believe it or not? Because if I do, it's my job to open up and to allow the infinite to express in ways that I can't even imagine. So I'm going to start with some important questions from a man whose work I dearly love. His name is Parker Palmer. He's a Quaker who has a book called Let Your Life Speak. And he's the founder for the Center for Courage and Renewal. And his questions, he said, we're asking the wrong questions. Don't ask, have I achieved my goals? Have I been effective in my work? What should or shouldn't I have done? Rather, ask yourself, have I been faithful to my values? Have I been faithful to my values? So to be able to answer that question, you have to know what your values are. And then he says, is the life I'm living the same as the life that wants to be lived in me? So Palmer also says, let the highest truth and values guide everything you do. But before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truth and values you've decided upon, let your life tell you what truths you embody and what values you represent. So this whole process, I tend to do a values assessment at least 3 times a year, usually 4 times a year, to take a look at where I stand. Even though my values are pretty consistent, they will change in their stacked ranked order. And every once in a while, one will slide in that I go, I wonder how that one got there. That's fascinating. One year, I got order show up. And for those of you who know me in my personal life, not my best, not my biggest gift. I tend to be really good at ordering other people's lives, mine not so much. So it's about looking and saying, what values make a difference for me? So I'm going to ask you, we're going to go through a handful of things. We're going to first look at what worked for this year for you, because I really believe it's important to first start from that place of positive expression of knowing that you really, a lot of times when we begin to look at what hasn't worked, it's real easy to do that beat ourselves up thing. And so to see that life is a balance of what works and what doesn't work. And so after I go through some questions about what works, then we'll look at what didn't work for you. And from there, then, what do we desire for the upcoming year? And when I give you these copies, you can have a copy of this when you leave. There are 2 sheets that are the last page that have to do with learning to be really specific with who you want to be in the new year. So if you're ready, allow yourself to take a deep breath and to just allow yourself to go within. To begin to imagine that your mind is like a movie, and the movie that you're watching is your life over the past year. So start last year around this time and begin to just wander through your life. What's worked, what hasn't worked, just allow that to be kind of a fast forward film so that you're in a mindset of allowing yourself to see your life from a third person observer standpoint. And we're going to look at what worked. So some of the really basic things are, what are you most grateful for about this past year? What did you love about it? What are your best memories? Did you have a favorite adventure? What's the single best thing? If you picked one, could you identify one thing that when you think about it, your heart just goes, yeah. What are the events or the people that touched your heart and soul? What relationships most supported your growth this past year? Who had an influence on you? What experiences nourished you and fed your soul? How did you let yourself be supported this year? For many of us, that's a really difficult thing to do. Did you let yourself be supported? If the answer is no, we can come back to that in the release portion. What did you put your focus on this year? And this is a question that always makes me cringe just a little bit. What was the best way you used your time this year? Where did you spend most of your time? And there are times when we can say, I did these cool things or these great things. Or there are times when I sat and stared at Netflix. I binge watched 6 seasons of Good Karma Hospital. But how did you spend your time? And what made you feel purposeful? What happened that you thought would happen, that you thought at the beginning of the year, this is what's up for me? And what did you think would happen that didn't? And what surprised you? I had a few of those when I did this. Wow, I can't believe that I agreed to that kind of a thing. What were your game changers, the unexpected things that shifted your principles and shifted your focus? Where did you grow and expand and transform, spiritually, emotionally, physically, personally, professionally? Look at every area of your life and say, where did I grow and transform? What new qualities or skills or superpowers did I discover? What was my most courageous action? What was my most selfless action? Is there something I got really clear on this year that I have not been as focused on? What ways did you grow spiritually? What qualities of God were evident in your life, and how did you embody those? And then my favorite question, my favorite last question is pick 3 words. What 3 words best describe your past year? And this one is, what 3 words would a spouse, a friend, or someone who loved you, how would they describe your last year? What words would they choose? And how do they differ? Brene Brown talks about the fact that we need to be very careful whose opinions we listen to, and that people have to earn the right to give you feedback. And so when you think about what 3 words would someone else use, they need to be, though, one of those people who's earned the right to give you feedback. Many people think they've earned the right to give you feedback, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have, that that's someone who you respect, who you know loves you exactly the way you are, with all of your joys and beauty and grace and magnificence, as well as all of the things that make you think you're not worthy or enough. Those people who love you right there. And just allow yourself to give thanks for all those things that have worked. And to know that as you move forward into this next year, there can be that many things when we do this next year at this time, an equal number and more of things that worked as you do the 2026 review next year. And now moving on to the part that's perhaps a little harder. What didn't work for you this year? What disappointments or regrets or upsets did you have during this year? What were your missed opportunities? Were there things you didn't get around to? You know, it's interesting. For years, I mean literally years, I had go to ministerial school and get my ministerial license for probably 10 years before I enrolled in school. And so even if it's something that you didn't do, allow yourself to see it as unfolding in that perfect timing. So what was it was sort of similar to the question asked earlier, what was your biggest time waster? Is there any part of this journey in this past year that you would like to be able to rewrite? If you're a golfer, take a mulligan. What would you like to rewrite? What was your single biggest challenge? And what was the challenge that made it difficult for you to see something as successful in your eyes? As you look forward to next year, what would you like to see less of in you? A lot of our propensities, our characteristics, they aren't going anywhere. We just look to have them be decreased or diminished. So what would you like to see decreased or diminished? And I love this one. Danielle Laporte asks this question in a lot of different ways in her work. She says, what shards or pieces or parts of your life have you left unclaimed and unloved in your life? Very frequently, we have pieces that we haven't claimed and we haven't been willing to love. What are those pieces? How have you blocked letting yourself be supported this year? What tweaks do you need to make to your spiritual practice going forward to allow yourself to be more supported. And using both that which worked and that which did not, think of a phrase that really best describes how this year could be described. And truly remember that consciousness is cumulative, that it is all building, stepping stones building on each other. And so be willing to see the balance and the beauty of both what works and what doesn't work. So I'd like you to just take a deep breath, and see all of those things that you don't want to carry into this new year. Take one of those pieces of paper, hold it in your hand or put it up against your heart, and see that Spirit is calling you into a greater way of being in the world where you are fully alive. You thrive in ways that you can't even imagine right now. Are you willing to let go of everything that stands in the way of that? Are you willing to make way for the good that is available and the old residue of the past to simply be released? Where are you still holding fear or regret or shame, embarrassment, anger, resentment in your life? Where do you hold judgment about yourself? How do you speak harshly to and about yourself? Where do you hold judgment for others and judge them harshly? What do you need to forgive yourself for? And forgiveness is a subject that a lot of people struggle with. But my definition is forgiveness is letting go of the need to inject poison into my heart. When I don't forgive, I'm putting poison in my system. It's like a chain that connects me to a person, place, or thing. And eventually we wrap those chains so tightly that we almost become that which we don't forgive. So am I willing to stop injecting poison and to simply let go? Am I willing to break the links in the chain that bind me to someone or something or some belief so that it no longer holds power over me? And a part of forgiveness is holding someone or something outside of your heart. So is there some way in which you hold a part of yourself outside of your heart? Is there someone you hold outside of your heart? Marianne Williamson says we have to forgive everyone for everything, but we don't have to go to lunch with them. It's important to remember that forgiving and letting go doesn't mean we condone a behavior, that we want to engage in ongoing interaction. It just means we are no longer willing to bind ourselves to that person, place, or thing or belief. Are you willing to let go of whatever storyline you have going in your head that justifies all of that? Holding on. Over and over and over, some of my favorite teachers like Pema Chodron will frequently say, it's important that we learn to drop the storyline. So what storylines are you willing to let go of now? Are there any other burdens that you're carrying? Notice if you carry any dark or small or limiting thoughts. And are you willing to let those dark, small, limiting thoughts go? And then kind of the unknown of if there's anything else, you don't even have to know consciously what it is. To just open your heart and your mind and your soul and say anything, whether I'm aware of it or not, am I willing to let it simply bubble up and find its way into this little piece of paper that is going to serve as the symbol for my release? And is there one idea, one belief, one thing, one storyline out of all the storylines and things that we have going on? If there was just one, if you let go of that one, it would make all the difference. If I could just let go of that, so many other things would fall into place. If there was that one thing that you could let go, what would it be? And then, as I mentioned earlier, are you willing to let go of the size of the life you have today to make room for a greater way of being in the world, where you thrive, you flourish, and every area of your life you feel more fully alive, more vibrant? Are you willing to release the highest level of good you already have attained to open to receive more than you can even imagine? So allow the totality of all of that we have just gone over to find its way into that piece of paper. And now, when you come up, I'm going to light some of the candles over here in the little trays with kitty litter in them, because it holds the candles up, and when they melt, it's easy to clean up. But I'm going to light some of these candles, and if some are unlit and you'd like to just light your own off that God candle in the center, then what you do is simply above the flame, let the piece of paper begin to catch fire and let go right away. It will most likely be completely burned before it even hits the sand. And even if it hasn't, you will see that it flashes and burns almost instantly. And so allow yourself, when you're ready, to come up, and as you get ready to drop off that particular piece of paper into the flame, just let everything that you have identified thus far and everything still to be known that no longer serves you to go up in that flash. I'll light the first few. So if everyone's had the chance to do that release, just allow yourself to take a deep breath and to visualize how quickly that little piece of paper burned. And how if you look down at where the even if it dropped into the sand, that it's simply gone. It's simply gone. No residue. It's just gone. And allow yourself to know that we choose whether to cling to something or not. And the truth is that throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, there will be times that some of those things come back because they have habitual patterns. And so be kind and tender and gentle with yourself. And keep the image of that burning paper and how quickly it dissolved into the nothingness from which it came. And allow yourself to hold that image. And if at some point you have forgotten, that use that image to bring it back. Because the truth is, we remember and then we forget. And we remember again and we forget again. And we remember again. That is the nature of being human. So allow yourself to develop tools like this where you have an image that allows you to say, oh, that's right. I let go. I don't have to hold this any longer. I can choose a new way of seeing, a new way of believing, a new way of being. So now take your second piece of paper, hold it in your hand or put it up on your heart, and we're going to begin to look at next year. How do you want next year to be? Most importantly, who do you want to be? What qualities of God do you want to have more fully expressed in your life? What new expressions of the divine are you willing to let bloom, blossom, grow? Are you willing to be open to something completely new that you can't even imagine now? To just be open. And are you willing to redefine your definition of what success looks like, rather than having it be tied to something external, that it is truly an inside job, that we are worthy simply because we're here, not because of what we've done or what we've achieved or what we have or don't have. And a really important question to ask yourself, how will I let myself be supported this year? It's so important. We are pack animals by nature. A lone wolf is generally one that's been cut out of the pack because it's sick or dying or something is not right. We are innately built in with a desire to connect. How will you allow yourself to connect and be supported this year? What qualities of God are most important to see expressed in new ways in you this year? How will they be embodied in the upcoming year? And why is this even important to you? You know, oftentimes we'll say love or peace or some quality because we think it's the one we should have. Stop and ask yourself, why is this important? How will it make, if it is more fully expressed and orbed in my life, how will it make a difference? What will change if you embody these qualities of God? Is there something that you would like to get really clear on this year? Are there some ways that you can share these qualities with the world around you? What desires or blessings do you hold for yourself? Do you want to have? How do you want to be blessed? It is the divine's desire to bless us all. It's not greedy or selfish to want to be blessed. It is simply wanting what the divine universal energy wants to give us for us to be richly blessed. And how would you like to see the people that you love be blessed? What good do you wish for them? What good do you wish for the world? Without judgment of making any part of it wrong, but to simply ask if there was a quality of the divine that would make a huge difference if I allowed it in, and the world was made manifest with that quality more. How would the world be different? How would you be different? Come up with 3 words that would best describe your intentions for this upcoming year. And what would it take? What would need to shift in you to be able to move forward with a sense of confidence, with a sense of enthusiasm, with a sense of expectancy of this good being made manifest? What would it take to be developed more fully for you to move forward in that manner? An author named Margaret Wheatley has a version of this question that she uses in one of her books. What will I do to create islands of sanity that evoke and rely on our best human qualities to create, produce, and persevere? What am I willing to do to create an island of sanity in my life? How would that look? How would it feel if I lived, regardless of what the conditions of the outside world look like? If I made a commitment to say, I will live in an island of sanity and not bite the hook of that collective consciousness of the world. Emma Curtis Hopkins says, show me the words that make the world glad and sane. Are you willing to look for the words for you that would allow you to see the world as glad and sane? How will you allow the universe to show you those words? Because they may not be evident to you now, but are you willing to make a commitment to be in a space where you can, even if you see yourself not having been engaged in an island of sanity and not knowing the words that might help to make the world glad and sane, are you willing to open your heart and your mind and your very soul to allow those things to come to you with a sense of grace and ease, with a sense of beauty and joy? Are you willing to let that be a guiding force in your life? Can you identify any specific values that you know would make a huge difference if you focused on them? If you asked yourself, say the value is respect. If you asked yourself, does this thought, does this word, does this deed or action move me closer to a life of living with more respect for myself and others, or does it move me away? Is this something that will move me towards more love, more kindness, more tenderness? Or is this something that moves me away from it? Is this something that will foster more peace? Or does it move me away from it? That's a really fast way in life to be able to just have a stop, a quick stop in a mindful way, to stop and not bite the hook of initial response reaction. Would this word, would this action, would this thought move me toward or away from what I want? Are you willing to make a commitment to allow yourself to keep coming back to questions like that? Am I living in alignment with my values? Am I willing to be open to greater levels of good through sources that I can see and those that I cannot? Are you willing to make a commitment to look at every area of your life and ask, how can I let more love, more peace, more joy, more happiness, more beauty, more health, more prosperity, more well-being, more tenderness, more compassion? How can I let those things be the things that drive my decisions, to be the things that are my guiding force, to be the things that are like the magnets of my life, the energy which draws people, places, things, experiences, thoughts, feelings to me? Am I willing to make a commitment right now so that as 26 unfolds, we let those things lead the way? What are you willing to make a commitment to this year? And allow yourself to identify a few very soul-centered words and intentions that you're willing to allow to be a guiding light and a drawing force, and the values that would most support each of those things. And then look in each area of your life, the essence and spirituality that you have, or what is sacred in your life, your health, your wellness, your body, your livelihood, whether it's a career or some other form of self-expression, financial sustainability and stability, your home, your possessions, vacation, travel, all of those things that fall under the category of your livelihood and lifestyle. Are you willing to let greater levels of good in to your relationships, love and romance, family and friends, and how you serve the community and the world? And then creativity and learning, where you have that extraordinary creative sense that dwells in us all. Not necessarily artistic creativity, but just that innate creative truth of who we are. How are you willing to let that self-expression blossom and grow? What are you willing to learn? Are there new explorations and adventures that you want to find? And allow yourself to see those things being made manifest, to feel what your life would feel like. What would make all the difference? Is there one thing that if that was true, that everything else would be like dominoes that fell into place? Allow yourself to feel those things and put them in that sheet of flash paper. And really allow yourself the process with a treatment. We look at that energy of the divine and we look at how it lives and moves and has its being in, through, and as each of us. And we're clear on what we want. And then with a loving, grateful heart, knowing that the universe is conspiring to bring us our good, knowing that every good thing that we can imagine can be surpassed by the good that the universe has in store for us. Are we willing to let go and release that out into that synergy of both love and law? Love that is that divine quality that lives and moves and has its being in, through, and as, and all around us. And the law, that principle that always says yes. It is done unto us as we believe. And that we are transformed by the renewing of our mind. And so in that release process, believing that that is so, we release this time, this meditation, these intentions, our heart's desires, the feelings of greater good. Release that out to that beautiful synergy of love and law, knowing that the universe has said yes and will shift, move, lift, change everything that we need to have changed if we're willing to let go and allow it to be so. To stop, to listen, to hear, to follow. And when you're ready, come up with that piece of paper and with the intention, allow yourself to feel that notion, everything that you have looked at in this part of the meditation, as being in that little piece of paper, knowing that as you let it go and it flashes, the universe has begun to move, shift, lift, and change everything to make it so. And so it is. So I have the questions that I asked, most of them, here on this, in this little packet of papers, which I will set up here on this chair, and feel free to come and pick one up if you're so moved. But the last page, so the last sheet, front and back, it asks you to look at each area of your life and to really focus on those things we talked about in each area. But then a very fun one that I tend to read when I'm getting ready for this service. The challenge is, imagine that this is now December 31st of 2026, and all of your heart's desires have come true. And you're writing a letter to someone that you know, someone that you love, to share with them what an amazing year this has been. To write that down like it is December 31st, 2026, describing what this year has been like for you. And it's really fascinating to read it. And amazing how many of the things do happen. And I've found that when those things that have not occurred are frequently something that the truth is, it was probably someone else's good idea for me. I wasn't really interested. It was something I thought I should or shouldn't do, I should or shouldn't have. That those things which really are our heart's desire, that those are the things that show up amazingly, even when we don't necessarily say, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to set all these intentions and go. Because if you're like me, you know, production is an important thing. And the truth is, from God's good idea, it's not. It's more about work from the inside out. So feel free to pick one of these up and to look and to say, what do I want in my life really? What am I willing to allow? So here they are. And then we have one more step, and you can stay or not stay. So during Holy Week and during a couple different times during the year, we had spiritual practice on Thursday, and a part of the process in spiritual practice on Thursday is sort of our version of confession, because we're not real big on groveling or anything like that. But we had a box and some paper, and you could come and write what you wanted to release. That if you were to tell somebody, this is something that just has been heavy in my heart, I don't want to carry it with me anymore, I want to let it go. So it would go in the box. Now, there's a lot of them that were mine. I'll tell you, I put a lot of them in last year. But last year when we burned the box, we found that the wrapping on the box was some kind of plastic. And it emitted a truly toxic gas. It was just ugly. And we all kind of kept backing up a little farther because it smelled bad and it took forever to burn. So I said to Reverend Karen, I know we told people that this is a sealed box, but I'm going to unseal it because I don't want anybody stuck in toxic gas again this year. So I didn't look at them. I just put them in here, sealed this envelope, and this envelope will burn without toxic gas. And it will burn faster. So if it's raining out there, it won't make that big of a deal, big of a difference. But when you came in, there's a little fire pit that we're just going to take outside now and put it in the parking lot and get that fire going and drop this in, so that we're not only releasing all of that which was ours to release tonight, but the people in this community who we love dearly, who have taken the time out of their life to conduct a spiritual process of letting go, that we're going to let this go on their behalf as well. So I will say thank you all for being here. If you want to come and join me while we burn up this envelope with, 100 little sheets of paper, feel free. And if not, if you have somewhere fun to be, because it is New Year's Eve. So hopefully for me, fun will be going home and going to bed. I happily admit that my partying days are long since gone. But for those of you who have places to go and people to see and things to do, go forth and see them and do them. And even if it's just going to bed. So, Merry Christmas is done. Happy